Our keynote speaker this evening is U.S. Congressman John Faso, representing the 19th District of New York. John's service to his community and Otsego Electric Cooperative have been appreciated. Thank you, John, for the good work you do and what you've done for being with us this evening. Please give a warm Otsego Electric welcome to Congressman Faso.
Gary, thank you very much. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. And Tim and your board, thank you so much for everything that you do. This is just a wonderful opportunity for me to get to know the company, the cooperative, get to know how you work and how you provide vital services to the people of Otsego County and some adjacent counties as well. And I enjoyed the opportunity to have you all visit with me in Washington. And as you know, there are a few controversies that go on now, every now and then in Washington. I don't know if you've heard about any of those, but it is certainly something that in 7 months in office, I can tell you that every single day that I walk into that Capitol, I feel a tremendous sense of honor and privilege. And I can assure you that I am working every day to try to conduct myself in a way that is civil and that is respectful of people's opinions, even when they may not agree with me, and that we have a civil discourse in our country. And I think that that's okay. This wasn't really what I had intended to say tonight, but the fact of the matter is that I had a group of students from Schoharie County who came to the inauguration back in January, and the day after the inauguration, a member of Congress can take a group out to the platform on the inaugural platform overseeing the mall. And I had these 50 students waiting, and as we were waiting to go out, I was explaining to them that you hear a lot of negative things about our government and about our system today in the media. And you hear a lot of things, especially on social media. And sometimes people say, well, those politicians, they're making those deals and everything like that. And I said, you're standing in a building, our Capitol, that is a product of a political deal in the beginning of our country. Our Capitol was placed in Washington, D.C. It wasn't called Washington then, it was called the Federal District, carved out of Maryland and Virginia. And the reason was Jefferson and Madison wanted the Capitol to be in Virginia because they were the biggest state, and they thought they had the most prominence, and indeed, they had Jefferson and Washington and all these others. So they wanted the Capitol there. Hamilton, he wanted the Capitol in the Commercial Center. It had to be in New York. And Hamilton also wanted to unify the country. He wanted the federal government, the brand new federal government, to assume the debts of the states as a means of creating a stable financial system and getting everyone to buy in, because those 13 colonies weren't necessarily all on the same page on everything. So what did they do? And they fought this and they argued this. What did they do? Hamilton agreed, and the Federalists and Hamilton agreed that the Capitol would be carved out of Virginia and Maryland. And Jefferson and Madison agreed with Hamilton to have the federal government assume the debts of the states. That was an integral political agreement that was entered into in the very founding days of our country, and it created stability and helped create confidence and longevity in the national government. And so I said to these kids, I said, someone would today say that's a political deal. But historians look upon that as a great compromise, as something that really was a meaningful way where people who had respected each other, they argued and they fought, but they came to an agreement. And this is really what's missing today, I think, all across our country. We've got to understand our national motto is E pluribus unum. E pluribus unum. It means out of many one. All these different people that came to our country, we blended together and we became Americans, despite our different backgrounds and different languages and cultures that they came to this country with. E pluribus unum. So it's really important that we remind ourselves this when you hear these voices that are asking us to fray and to split apart and to fight with each other. It's important to remember our national motto, E pluribus unum. That's what that flag stands for, the unity of this country, the 50 states together. And to recognize that we live under a constitution that allows us to reconcile and compromise our differences. And so that's why every day when I walk into that Capitol, I feel a tremendous sense of honor and a tremendous sense of pride in what came before us, and recognizing that we here today, all of us, not just elected officials, but all of us have an obligation to make sure that our kids and our grandchildren understand what America stands for, what our founding fathers stood for, what that Constitution means. It's a way in which we can reconcile and compromise our differences. And so I just wanted to say thank you for allowing me to be here tonight, and thank you to Tim and the board for their generosity. And you know, anytime I can get a free Brooks barbecue, it's worth it to me. So thank you so much. And I'll leave you with one last thing. I just had the privilege and honor. They invite freshman members of Congress. We had a bipartisan group. We went to Israel. We spent a week in Israel. We met with the political leadership, the Prime Minister. We met with the Prime Minister Netanyahu. We met with the Prime Minister of the Palestinian Authority. And we traveled up to the Golan Heights, and we traveled around, and we watched and we listened and we learned a lot. But I also, my wife and I had a great, humbling, just sacred privilege. We had a priest that came to our hotel. I'm a Roman Catholic. Priest came to our hotel at 5:30 in the morning. There were a group of about 15 to 20 of us, and he took us to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. And we had Mass in Christ's tomb, which was the most astonishing thing I've ever experienced in my life. And I still feel, it's just a week ago, I still feel this tremendous sense of emotion about the fact that I was there. We are here for a purpose. God has put us here for a purpose, and America is here for a sacred reason. And so let's all go forth and stand up for our country, stand up for our values, stand up for the rights and the privileges that we all have as Americans. One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much for having me. God bless you, and God bless America.